Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, I'm flying solo. And now for your in-flight headlines. Donald Rumsfeld, the first person to serve 2 non-consecutive terms as Secretary of Defense, is dead. He died at his home in Taos, New Mexico. He was 88. He served from 1975 to 1977 in the Gerald Ford cabinet and then again in the George W. Bush White House from 2001 to 2006. He was both the youngest at age 43 and the oldest at age 74 to be the defense secretary in our nation's history. In update to the Tour de France bike crasher, the woman who caused a huge crash at the Tour de France has been arrested. She is facing charges of reckless endangerment and involuntarily causing injury. The charges under consideration carry a possible 1-year prison term depending on the severity of the cyclist's injuries and a fine of 15,000 euros or nearly $18,000. But a prison term is thought to be unlikely. The woman does not have a criminal record. The winningest coach in Pac-12 and UCLA football history has died. Terry Donahue was 77 years old and died after a battle with cancer. Donahue has the most wins at 98 of any coach in Pac-12 history and also the most wins, 151, in UCLA history. Donahue was the first to appear in a Rose Bowl game as a player, assistant coach, and head coach. Portland Trail Blazers forward Carmelo Anthony is the inaugural winner of the NBA's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion Award. The NBA said Anthony, a 10-time NBA All-Star, an entrepreneur, and a philanthropist, was selected for his dedication over the past year to pursuing social justice and advancing Abdul-Jabbar's life mission to engage, empower, and drive equality for individuals and groups who have been historically marginalized or systemically disadvantaged. As the winner, Anthony was able to select an organization, Portland Art Museum's Black Arts and Experiences Initiative, to receive a $100,000 contribution on his behalf.
You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
We love our listeners. We want you to download and listen to the podcast and share it with others. We just ask you to acknowledge Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast as the source of the material. Please do not, except with our express written permission, distribute or commercially misuse the content. So as you can tell, I am by myself this week. As Jeff has mentioned, he is moving and they're doing their final push to get out of their old house and into their new house. So it'll be just me this week, and Jeff will be back next week, I hope. So we got the All-Star game coming up. We had All-Star selections, and I'm going to talk about that. But I just wanted to really quickly, briefly mention Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer has some really serious allegations against him. He is right now on administrative leave that the MLB has put him on. That was the right move. I think that leave will be extended and should be extended. It has to be extended with the players' associations. They have to grant that extension or be okay with it. And he has a hearing coming up July 23rd. So really, he needs to focus on that. He doesn't need to focus on baseball, doesn't need to be in the dugout. I'm not going to go into the allegations. They're really bad, but we'll just leave it at that Trevor Bauer needs to just focus on his personal life, which seems to be in flames, and not worry about the Dodgers. So looking at all-star selections are always hard because it used to be if you went to the ballpark, you got this punch ballot and you would punch out all of the players that were your home team. And then they started opening up for everyone to vote because not everyone can get to a ballpark to vote. And then it just became a free-for-all where you're just voting for your favorite player and you're not really looking at stats or if they're injured or really anything. It just goes by name recognition. A good example is Mike Trout. Mike Trout is an all-star, but he's currently on the 60-day IL. He's not going to be able to play. He's not expected to be back with the Angels until after the All-Star break. So it's a nice gesture, but at the same time, he's not going to be able to play. So, and when you're looking at the All-Stars, was he an All-Star this season? No. Is he an All-Star all the time? Over his career, sure, but not for this particular game that's going to happen in Colorado. And we talked about this last week. The Houston Astros somehow had 4 players end up in those final rounds, and Altuve and Correa. Brantley was probably the most deserving out of all of them. Bregman. But then when it came down to it, so you have the fans vote, and there's 2 phases. The fans vote, and then they vote overall, and that's every player. And then it goes to phase 2, and they shorten it down to 3 players per position, and then 6 players in the outfield. The players also vote, and then you have the commissioner's office, which also picks. So your starters for the American League are Salvador Perez, the catcher, first baseman Vladdy Guerrero Jr., second base Marcus Semien, third base Rafael Devers, shortstop Xander Bogaerts. In the outfield, Mike Trout, who will not play, so one of the reserves will play. You also have Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays, Aaron Judge from the Yankees, and then for the DH, Shohei Ohtani, who probably got, I think, the most votes of any player. I mean, he's just amazing. Then you look at the reserves, and you're like, okay, let's see. Jared Walsh from the Angels very deservedly got a reserve spot for first base. But then second base is Jose Altuve. I can think of some other guys that would definitely deserve that spot, but not Altuve. Bo Bichette at shortstop, okay, but shortstop Carlos Correa as a reserve from the Astros, absolutely not. Or I should say asterisks. And then Jose Ramirez, Michael Brantley as an outfielder, Adaldus Garcia, Joey Gallo, Cedric Mullins of the Orioles, first-time All-Star, should have been voted in as an All-Star, but he was recognized as a reserve, which is good because he really deserves that. Then you have Nelson Cruz and J.D. Martinez as DH, and starting pitchers. This is a first. You have Shohei Ohtani, who was voted in overwhelmingly for the DH position, but then he was also voted by the players as a starting pitcher. So for the first time, you'll have someone that's a designated hitter and a starting pitcher in the All-Star game. Now, how he will be used, that will be up to Kevin Cash. I think Kevin Cash will probably use him as maybe not as the starter, but he'll come in to pitch at some point during the game. You also have Garrett Cole, Lance Lynn, Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber, again, he is injured and will not play. Carlos Rodon, Kyle Gibson of the Rangers, Nathan Eovaldi of the Red Sox. Aroldis Chapman of the Yankees, who has imploded, is going to the All-Star game. I don't get it, but it is what it is. Liam Hendricks, Matt Barnes of the Red Sox, good there. Ryan Presley of the Asterix, again, you're looking at this going, why? And then Gregory Soto of the Tigers, Yoshi Kikuchi of the Mariners. And when you look at this list, you're like, this is not right. There's something wrong here. And what's wrong is the asterisks on this list. And it begs to, if you want to be the conspiracy theorist that is fun to be, what kind of dirt do these guys have on Manfred? Is there something going on, or does he feel, he gave them immunity because they cheated. We all know they cheated. And I know it sounds like beating beating the drum or beating a trash can in the asterisk world. But why are they there? How did they get there? They've had some sparks over the season, but are they deservingly all-stars? They're cheaters. They shouldn't be there. That's my take on the whole thing. I think there were some people that were more deserving of being in the All-Star game. And the All-Star game is fun. It used to be a little bit more, I think, competitive. The American League versus the National League. American League usually always won. And it was a game that a lot of people tuned into. I think most people tune into the game now for the home run derby. At least I do. I probably shouldn't admit this as a baseball fan, but I'll watch a couple of innings maybe of the All-Star game. And it just gets too much for me because they're taking selfies and, it just kind of becomes more of like celebrity softball tournament than the All-Star game. And, the bragging rights of the AL or the NL, whoever wins. So I'm not a really big fan of the All-Star game. And especially now because we've got all these asterisks that are not all-stars. Now, if we shift gears and we look at the National League, you have starters Buster Posey, Freddie Freeman, Adam Frazier, Nolan Arenado, Fernando Tatis Jr., no surprise there. And in the outfield, Ronald Acuna Jr., and then Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker from the Reds, both really deserving. So fans got that right. Buster Posey. Freddie Freeman, there's argument that it's Freddie Freeman. Everybody knows Freddie Freeman. But the person who was really deserving of being the starting first base all-star was Max Muncy. Max Muncy has better numbers than Freddie Freeman. They're pretty, in some areas they're comparable, but in a lot of areas they're not. And it's a shame that Max was not voted in as a starter. And one of the things that Max said is that there are a lot of Dodger haters out there. And that seems to be true. There's a lot of people, baseball fans in particular, that don't like the Dodgers. And I think maybe they're jealous because of the embarrassment of riches that the Dodgers have on the field. Or it could have come down to, it shouldn't because you're voting on the player, but it could have come down to this whole mess that Bauer's in, and people just saw Dodgers and were like, nope, I'm not voting for any Dodger players, even though they have nothing to do with what's going on. It's a really sticky situation, and it's one that I really, really hate. Didn't even want to bring it up, but it's kind of like I said, it's the elephant in the room. When you look at Justin Turner of the Dodgers, who also was not voted in, Nolan Arenado was voted in as the all-star. And I think part of that was because people wanted him to go back to Colorado and be in the all-star game. Well, he has already played in Colorado as a Cardinal, so no need to do that. But if we look at the numbers, Justin Turner's batting average versus Nolan Arenado, JT 294, Arenado 261. On base percentage, JT 387, Arenado 319. Slugging, Arenado's at 500, JT's at 482. But OPS is 869 for JT, and Nolan Arenado's at 819. JT obviously the better third baseman there. Did not make it into the All-Star game this year. Probably okay. Maybe he needs a break. I'm sure he probably does. But it's still nice to be recognized as an All-Star. And again, it goes along with name recognition and who's voting for these players. So reserves, you have JT Realmuto, Max Muncy was made a reserve, Ozzie Albies, Jake Cronenworth, Chris Bryant, Eduardo Escobar, Brandon Crawford, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Brian Reynolds, Kyle Schwarber, Juan Soto, Chris Taylor, who again should have been voted in, but not someone that I guess a lot of people outside of Dodger fans really recognize. And unless you watch MLB Network and listen to the analysts, you're not hearing about Chris Taylor, who can play the outfield, can play the infield, and is great at bat. But I'm glad that he is there as a reserve. And then, of course, for starting pitching, you have Jake DeGrom, Yu Darvish, Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, Kevin Gossman, Germán Marquez of the Rockies, Trevor Rogers of the Marlins, Zach Wheeler, Craig Kimbrell, Mark Melancon, Josh Hader, and Alex Reyes of the Cardinals. Now, for pitching, you don't see Walker Buehler in there. Kenley Jansen, who's having a really good year, is not there. They're not there. And part of the problem is that with the All-Star game, you have to have a representative from every team. So that's how you have Germán Marquez, who has been decent for the Rockies, get in because there has to be a representative from each team. And, it's one of those things, again, with the All-Star game. It's a lot of it is name recognition, and Aaron Judge, for example, or Mike Trout is probably the best example. People know, he is the face of baseball, and we're going to vote for him regardless. So when you're voting for the All-Star game players next year, really, and they'll give you their stats. Don't just go off of name recognition. Really go for the guys that are having a good year. And a really good example is like Adam Frazier of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's on a losing team, but every game he's putting things together, getting hits, making really good plays. And so it's great that he was made a starter and voted in as a starter for the All-Star game. So the Home Run Derby will be on Monday, the 12th. Salvador Perez has joined the list of participants, so that'll be good. And then the game is on the 13th in Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. Should be fun. It always is a fun game, and of course we'll talk about that next week. And especially about that Home Run Derby. I'm really looking forward to the Home Run Derby because it's in Coors Field where the ball likes to travel. So how many home runs will there be? Will Pete Alonso be able to regain or retain his title as Home Run Derby champion? We will see, but always fun. Also a really good break. We see a lot of players that are injured, and then players that are just playing every day that just need that break, nice breather for Major League Baseball before we get into that push towards the playoffs. And also July 31st is the trade deadline. So that's another, that's just one more step as we get closer and closer to the playoffs.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
All right, so the Dodgers, it was sweeps week. You know how they have with the network TV, and they have their like the sweeps month. I think it's like May. I don't know if they even still do this, but where they have all their season finales and they, throw in the guest stars and all of these different things. Well, for the Dodgers this week, it was sweeps week. Hopefully it can continue. The Dodgers had San Francisco at home for 2 games. This was a big series for the Dodgers. As you know, the San Francisco Giants are number 1. They're just hanging out in the top spot there in the West. And the Dodgers really needed to win these games. Right off the bat, Mookie Betts hits a home run. And then right after that, Max Muncy hits a home run, back-to-back home runs to start the game. Max Muncy owns the Giants. Now, in this game, in the first game, the Dodgers won 3-2. He only went 1 for 4, but he had that home run right off the bat just to show the Giants who's boss. Trevor Bauer did pitch in that game. He went 6 innings, had 8 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Again, gave up 2 home runs. That's his nemesis this year. Start before he gave up 3. This time he gives up 2. Not sure what's going on there, and not sure how that will play out over the season, especially with everything that he has going on. Second game, Dodgers come out and win 3-1. So they sweep the Giants. 2 big wins for the Dodgers. They really needed those wins, especially after they were no-hit by the Cubs. That was just like demoralizing. And of course, the sweep by the Padres, not something that the Dodgers want to focus on. So they went and they swept the Giants. Now in the second game, like I said, it was 3-1. But again, Max hits another home run. He was 1 for 2 in that game. He had a double, or he had 2 walks, and then 1 RBI. But again, hits a home run, just to let him know, I'm still here. I still own you. Walker Buehler threw 6 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, no earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, no home runs. Joe Kelly came in and looked great. He pitched an inning and a third. No hits, no runs there. And then Kenley Jansen, I didn't mention him in the first game. Kenley came in, pitched an inning, gave up 1 hit, had a strikeout, but no runs. Got his 19th save. In the second game, Kenley got his 20th save. 1 inning pitched, no hits, no runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. So Kenley looking really good there. The loser in this game, maybe a surprise, Kevin Gausman, who has been so great this season. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, probably uncharacteristic for him. 4 strikeouts, and 1 home run, which was that home run that Max hit off of him. So a sweep of the Giants, couldn't ask for anything more. Just great. So the Dodgers head to DC for the long weekend to celebrate Independence Day. First game, Dodgers win 6-2. This game was played through 5 innings. It was considered complete because it poured down rain, which is normal for the East Coast. Of course, there was also some stuff going on. I think there was a hurricane that was maybe causing some issues, but it's normal during this time of year on the East Coast to have those thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening where it just pours down rain. But in that first game, as I said, 5 innings, the game was completed. This game, Max Muncy was the star. He, again, 1 for 3, but he hit a grand slam, 4 RBIs in the game. Albert Pujols had 1 RBI. A.J. Pollock also hit a home run, had that RBI. So great games for Max and AJ, and of course Albert helping and contributing with an RBI also. So this game, I guess, was considered a bullpen game. Tony Gonsolin was going to start, but they switched it up, and Victor Gonzalez started the game. He only pitched 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 hits, a run, and 1 earned run. No walks, no strikeouts. Phil Bickford, who I know when he came in, everyone was like, who is Phil Bickford? But he has been such a great addition to the Dodger bullpen. He pitched 1/3 of an inning, no hits, no runs, no earned runs, no walks, a strikeout. Then Tony Gonsolin came in. He's still working his way back from shoulder injury. And He pitched 3 innings. He gave up 2 hits, 1 run, one of those one earned run, had 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. So he's getting kind of back into a groove. Not sure what the Dodgers are going to do with Tony Gonsolin, especially since he didn't start this game. He has been the starter, and it will be interesting to see, especially as the trade deadline comes up, where he fits in. Not that he will be traded, but will he be in the starting rotation? Will he be in a bullpen role? Not quite sure where he'll be. And then Garrett Clevenger, who was on the injured list, was back, and he pitched an inning, and he gave up no hits, no runs, gave up a walk, but was able to seal the deal. And the Dodgers won 6-2 in those 5 innings. Patrick Corbin pitched in that game for the Nationals, went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 8 hits, 6 runs, 5 of those earned, had 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and 2 home runs. In the second game, the Dodgers came and beat the Nationals 10-5. And in this game, the Dodgers were all firing on all cylinders. Mookie Betts 2 for 5, 2 RBIs with a double. Max was 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. JT 3 for 4, had a home run. And in this game, it was Max Scherzer who was pitching, and that is who JT hit the home run off of. He does really well against Max Scherzer, probably one of the very few ML players that can just hit Max Scherzer, hit another home run. I think it's like maybe his 4th or 5th home run he's hit off of him. So that was a huge help. CT3, 2 for 5. AJ 1 for 3. Albert 1 for 2 with an RBI in that game. Julio Urias started that game. He went 6 innings. 3 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So again, Julio looking pretty good. Struggled a little bit, but was able to get out of some jams. So a good outing. No jumbo jacks, though, for Southern California Dodger fans, as the Dodger pitchers only had 5 strikeouts. Now, Max Scherzer, he went 6 innings, 4 hits, gave up a run, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, gave up that home run to JT. When he came out of the game, he felt really good. The bullpen, not so much for the Nationals, and they just blew it wide open, and the Dodgers took advantage and beat the Nationals 10-5 in that game. In the second game, this was an interesting game. It looked great in D.C., and then they had the rain delay, and that rain delay caused, because it was probably like over 2 hours, I think, of a rain delay, maybe about 2 hours. Kershaw was on the mound, but because the rain delay had gone so long, they had to go to the bullpen again, which could have been detrimental, because knowing that Sunday was coming and there was no starter and it was going to be a bullpen game, maybe you couldn't work out in their favor, but it actually did. Dodgers won that game 5-3. Not a lot of offense. I mean, yeah, they had 5-3, but they just were able to get on. Lots of walks. Kershaw went 4 innings, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, gave up a home run to Yan Gomes. And then Brusdar Graterol was back from Oklahoma City, and he pitched an inning, looked good, 2 strikeouts. But he did have to settle in there. It took him a little bit, because Joe Kelly, Phil Bickford, Blake Trinan all looked really good. Kelly and Bickford gave up a hit. Trinan, no hits. And then Kenley Jansen, once again, he gets his 21st save and goes 1 inning, 1 hit, no runs, no earned runs, gave up a walk, and 2 strikeouts. All right, so we're going into the final game in Washington, D.C. If they play on the 4th of July, they always play at 11 o'clock in the morning, meaning for Dodger fans in the Pacific time zone, it was morning baseball, breakfast baseball at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. where I'm at. And once again, the Dodgers came through. and beat the Nationals. A whole sweep of the Nationals. I think they swept the Nationals all 7 games that they played them this year. Nice week for the Dodgers. In this Sunday game, Max was 2 for 5. Matt Beatty had a home run. Gavin Lux was 3 for 4. Really looking good out there. But something that really stood out is with these 3 hits by pitch for Austin Barnes, who was hit right in the helmet, didn't even flinch, just took off his gear and went to first base. Not an issue. AJ Pollock was hit kind of the shoulder, kind of upper back. Just kind of stood there, because it stings. The scariest one, though, was JT. He was in the box. The ball obviously gets away from the pitcher. His last name is Machado. Not Manny, but and the ball just gets away. And if JT had not put his shoulder up, it would have hit him square in the face. It was super scary. I gasped when I saw the play, when I saw it happen. JT was on the ground, but he was able to get up and walk it off. But really could have been really scary if he had not had those reflexes to raise up his shoulder in time, because otherwise, who knows? I mean, he would be out for the season and it would have just been really hard. And then you would have heard those calls again for we need something sticky, which we still do. I think the pitchers still need something other than rosin and sweat. But we'll see as we go through. The other thing is you had 3 of the hitters hit by the pitchers. And after a while, you think, is this on purpose? I don't think it was. I think it was just some young pitchers from the Nationals bullpen that just didn't have the command that they needed. But you begin to wonder, especially with the Dodgers sweeping the Nationals. So really good baseball for the Dodgers. They're on an 8-game win streak. Just awesome. A couple of things I wanted to get to before I talk about my player of the week. The Dodgers visited the White House while they were in D.C., and they were able to visit with President Biden and Vice President Harris and get to tour the White House, which is really cool experience. So, and the awesome part, though, is Joe Kelly wore his mariachi jacket. Now, how did Joe Kelly get a mariachi jacket, you may ask? Well, there was a mariachi group band at Dodger Stadium that was there for Viva la Dodgers. They were going to play at the stadium. Kenley Jansen has had them come out on the field to play for the pitchers. And one of the guys in the band, Joe Kelly, asked him, hey, I'll trade you my jersey for your jacket. So he's like, all right, I'll do it. So Joe Kelly got his mariachi jacket and band member got Joe Kelly's jersey. So a really good trade there. Now fast forward to when the Dodgers visit the White House. Now, I don't know if this is true. Joe Kelly said he forgot that they were going to White House. I don't know how you forget that you're going to visit the White House, but he had packed the mariachi jacket. So I'm thinking that he probably knew, maybe not with it being Joe Kelly. Maybe he just wanted to, wear it casually around in DC. I'm not sure, but he had it packed. Joe Kelly ends up wearing the mariachi jacket to the White House. In addition, he said he forgot dress pants, so he borrowed Mookie Betts' pants, and he said he likes them short. Mookie and Joe Kelly, obviously some height difference there, but Joe Kelly, he was the talk of the fashion world for his White House ensemble mariachi jacket, his white shirt, buttoned down, like about 3 buttons open. Looked really good, but it also was classic Joe Kelly, or as we refer to him now, Jose. Also, Joe Davis who is the voice along with Oral Hershiser of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but you also hear him on Fox baseball games, and he also, I think, does football games. But he and his wife, Libby, had a baby boy, and they named him Theodore Oral Davis, and that's really cool. A tribute to his broadcast partner, and just one of the greatest pitchers in the game, obviously the Bulldog, the tenacity that he had in the 88 World Series. But I know Oral Hershiser said he was very touched by that gesture that the Davis family would name their son, his middle name after Oral. A close relationship between them, but really cool to see that. All right, so the Dodgers are going to be in Miami for 4 games, and then at home versus Arizona for 3 games before the All-Star break. So for my player of the week this week, I had some good candidates, Max being one of them. But instead, I went with somebody from the bullpen who sometimes really makes me cringe, makes me cover my eyes, makes me leave the room. But he's my player of the week this week, and that is Kenley Jansen. He collected his 19th, 20th, and 21st save this week. He pitched 4 innings overall, gave up 3 hits, no runs, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. So Kenley Jansen, my player of the week, I think he's very deserving of that, and I hope he can just continue on this. We need angry Kenley out there on the mound, and he's been giving it to us. All right, moving on to the Angels. The Angels were in New York to play the Yankees this past week, and they looked really good. The Yankees, as we know, have been struggling. I mean, it's all over. Everyone knows. But we'll get to that. I'll get to that in Around the League. But Shohei, or Showtime, putting on a show in New York. He hit home run number 27 and 28 in that series. The first game, the Angels win that game 5-3. The story of that game, though, really wasn't the game. I mean, it was obviously with Shohei hitting his all those home runs. I think he hit 26 and 27 there, but anyway, he just was a home run machine. But it was starting pitcher Dylan Bundy who went 1 2/3 innings, and then, I mean, this makes everyone just gasp, look away. He had heat exhaustion and was on the mound, was sweating profusely, and then just threw up right behind the mound. So it's like the kid in class that doesn't make it to the bathroom and throws up in the classroom. You never forget that kid, or you never forget that happening. I mean, I still remember in middle school, it was quiet. I think we were taking a test, or maybe we were just working on homework. I'm not quite sure, but I just remember it being really quiet. And then the next thing you know, you hear that noise, and there was a kid who got sick. And of course the janitor came in, put that, like the wood chips or whatever over it. I wonder how did the grounds crew have to clean that up? Really just feel bad for Dylan Bundy. But, heat exhaustion, if you're not dehydrated or staying dehydrated, and it's hot, it was hot in the Bronx, and it's humid. It's like really humid there. You got to keep keep hydrated and not be dehydrated. So Dylan Bundy, he did give up a home run to Gio Urshela, but after that, Jose Suarez came in. He pitched the bulk of the game, pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 run, a walk, 5 strikeouts, and a home run to Giancarlo Stanton. Steve Cishek gave up no runs, had a strikeout, so a good outing for him. He pitched 1 inning. And then Raisel Iglesias came in and pitched an inning and was able to seal the deal for the win for the Angels for 5-3. Now, Shohei had a home run in that game, but Juan Lagares, who also had a home run. Shohei, Walsh, Stassi, Jose Iglesias and Juan Lagares all had RBIs in that game. So really a good game for the Angels coming into the Bronx to play against a struggling Yankees team. Now, the second game didn't go the Angels' way. The Yankees got their act together, beat the Angels 11-5, but Shohei did hit his home runs, 28-29 in that game. Just awesome. Jose Iglesias had a home run. Rendon was 2 for 3 there. And even in the loss, they were able to, to get some decent offense going. So the Angels had lost 11-5 in that game. And then the Angels were like, you know what? I think we want to score 11. But it kind of came kind of crazy. Shohei Ohtani started that game, but he was done really early. He only pitched 2/3 of an innings, gave up 2 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, and a strikeout. And not looking good at the plate, only 0 for 1. Jared Walsh hits a tying grand slam off Aroldis Chapman in a 7-run 9th inning for his second homer of the night. He hit 2 home runs, and the Angels rally to beat the Yankees 11-8. And it was crazy, especially as the game and how it got started. Ohtani's start was highly anticipated. He was going to be pitching in Yankee Stadium. It was his pitching debut, but he only got, like I said, he only got 2 outs, and he was charged with 7 runs. It's the worst of his career, but the Angels were able to persevere. There was a 2-hour rain delay, and but they became the first team since at least 1900 to give up 7 innings in the first inning and then score 7 in the 9th to win. So a crazy win for the Angels, but the best results that you could get. Aroldis Chapman, he hadn't pitched in a week. He entered into the situation in a non-save. He was going to protect the 8-4 lead, but he walked 3 batters to load the bases with 1 out, and then Jared Walsh came in and just launched a slider into the Yankees bullpen in right center for his second career grand slam and the first the all-star closer had ever allowed. So Aroldis Chapman probably not happy with that result, but great for the Angels. Pinch hitter Luis Rengifo broke the tie with a 2-run single with 2 outs, and then Taylor Ward added an RBI single. And again, Raisel Iglesias got the 3 quick outs for his 15th save. 7 Angels came in and helped to hand the Yankees probably what could be considered probably one of the most demoralizing losses that they've had in a long time. They are just having a really tough season. And as Aaron Boone said, it was frustrating. It was terrible. It was disappointing and just bad, but great for the Angels. Great win for the Angels. Now, the last game of the series was supposed to be played. It was a rain out. Now, this has been interesting because the Yankees have done this before where there's rain in the forecast, but it's not raining at game time. And they postpone the game, or they don't just delay it and say, well, we'll start in a couple hours. They just postpone it outright. And that's what they did with the last game of the series. They just said, we're not playing it. There's weather in the forecast, there's rain, and we don't want to play. Now, the question comes, why aren't they playing when it's not raining at game time? You play, and then if you have a delay, you have a delay. And then, if the game does get called, you make it up later. But this is, I think, the second time the Yankees have done this, and it's almost as if they're taking a mental health day. They're just like, we're having a tough time and we just can't play today. And oops, I fell a raindrop. I think we need to cancel the game. This is something I don't think that they should be able to do it. Not sure how that all works with the umpires and with the commissioner's office, how they all they do that. But does seem really strange that, especially after that loss that they took from the Angels, the very next day, they're like, yeah, sorry, I don't want to play today. So that's what happened there. The game will be made up, but again, the Yankees, is it really going to help them be better to not play a game? I don't know, but looks really good for the Angels in that series. So they won, they won the series with that, if you could call the rain out. So, and they had that great win. So now the Angels head back to Anaheim and are facing Baltimore. Another crazy game on when they get home. I guess the Angels are kind of thinking, did you see what we did against the Yankees? Well, let's see if we can do that against Baltimore. And in this game, you had Griffin Canning starting, only went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 6 runs, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts, gave up 2 home runs. Did not look good in this game. And just, something's off with Griffin Canning. But the Angels end up walking it off with an 8-7 win. And Ohtani, once again, he was 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, gave up a home run. He gave a home run to the fans, number 30, to be exact. Jose Iglesias stepped in, had a home run in that game. The bullpen has really had to work. I mean, unfortunately, you had Dylan Bundy with heat exhaustion in New York. Griffin Canning just did not have the stuff. Sliers came in, pitched 2 innings, didn't give up any runs, gave up 2 walks. Jose Quintana pitched an inning, 1 run, gave up a run there, walked 1. Cishak does need to go back to his shack at the sea. He had the blown save in this game. He pitched 1 1/3 innings, gave up a hit. But just, not a good outing. Mike Myers came in, pitched a 3rd, gave up a hit, gave up a walk. And then again, here we have Raisel Iglesias pitching 1 2/3 innings, 2 strikeouts. And like I said, the Angels walked it off against Baltimore. So fast forward to the next night. Again, Baltimore is visiting, and one of their old pitchers, one of their old teammates, Alex Cobb, is on the mound. Alex looks really good. This is something that you don't see from Angels pitchers. You don't see Angels pitchers going 7 innings, maybe 6 innings. But Alex Cobb that night, I don't know if it was because it was the Orioles he was pitching against. Who knows? But he looked really good. 7 2/3 innings, pitched 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, no home runs. Cishak came in for a 1/3 of the inning, gave up a hit, and did have a strikeout, but no runs. And then Raisel Iglesias, 16th save of the season, 1 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, no earned runs, and 2 strikeouts. And in that game, you had Jared Walsh again, 2 for 4 with an RBI. Ohtani, 3 walks in that game. Phil Gosselin, a good addition there, 2 RBIs, and then Juan Lagares again, 1 for 4 with an RBI double. Really good game for the Angels. Solid win, 4-1. Really good for them. Now we're fast forward to Independence Day. A nice crowd at Angels Stadium on a sunny day. And what do the Angels do? they walk it off. Patrick Sandoval was the starter in that game. Not bad. 5 innings, gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs. Had 7 strikeouts, but he walked 5. So not great. And then Sleegards comes in and pitches a third of an inning, but he gives up 2 hits and 2 runs, 2 earned runs. And Andrew Wantz was called up from Salt Lake City. It was his major league debut, and the poor guy gets a blown save in his major league debut. Had a sac fly and a bloop single to tie the game at 4-4. And Mike Myers comes in, pitches for an inning, doesn't give up any hits or any runs. And then Raisel Iglesias once again comes in for an inning. He did give up a hit, 1 run. That was that home run off of the newly minted All-Star Cedric Mullins. He hit a home run in the 9th to make it 5-4 against the Angels. And then Juan Lagares doubles for the walk-off win. And in so many days, and the Angels win that game 6-5. So really good week for the Angels. And hopefully it continues. Trout, like I said, should be coming back. And soon after the All-Star game, he was taking some batting practice, has been on the field. So that's good. If the Angels can continue to play, and then with the addition of Mike Trout, it's going to get better. Now, Griffin Canning was optioned to Salt Lake City after his disaster game. Joe Madden said he needs to work on his fastball command. Canning this season is 5-for-4 with a 5.60 earned run average in 14 games this season. So probably a good thing for Griffin, just to get his mind right, get his mechanics right in Salt Lake. And we'll see when he comes back. They optioned him right before the All-Star break, so a good move for the Angels because their rotation-wise, they're not going to miss him. But we'll see what other moves that the Angels may or may not make before the trade deadline or at the trade deadline. It'll be interesting to see. Will they go and get some pitching? They've got the offense, but they've got to get the pitching. So the Angels will host Boston, and then they head to Seattle to take on the Mariners before the All-Star break. And for my player of the week, I had one guy in mind, but I kept coming back to this other guy, and that is Raisel Iglesias, who pitched 5 2/3 innings. He gave up a hit, 1 run, 1 earned run, no walks, 6 strikeouts, no home runs. He collected 2 wins and 3 saves over the week. So Raisel Iglesias gets my vote for player of the week. And you probably noticed I did not do Albert's Corner, and I didn't, I did talk about Shohei. It's hard not to talk about Shohei, but Jeff enjoys doing those so much, just like me doing the IL. So I'm going to let him take that next week, and I'm sure it'll be even bigger and better with like fireworks for for both guys. All right, so let's head around the league. Major League Baseball gives out an AL Player of the Month and an NL Player of the Month, and this past month, who would have guessed it? You never would have thought. Shohei Ohtani. I mean, who is this guy? But he is the AL Player of the Month. He had 13 home runs, 23 RBIs, 20 runs, 309 average, and a 1.312 OPS. He's just amazing. I mean, he's like superhuman, just awesome, great ambassador for the game. If you're watching games when the Angels were playing in New York, had a huge fan base, lots of signs in Japanese rooting for Ohtani. And, and you know, the other thing I didn't know this, Jeff probably knew this, but I didn't know this, is that Ohtani had been courted very heavily by the New York Yankees, but he didn't want to play on the East Coast. He wanted to play for a West Coast team, and the Angels said all the right things, and he ended up on the Angels. And right after that happened, the Yankees signed Giancarlo Stanton. So, you know, Giancarlo Stanton, maybe he could thank Ohtani for not wanting to play on the East Coast. And I can't imagine him on the East Coast. He's a West Coast guy. And then for your NL player of the month, you have Kyle Schwarber, who was on a tear, 16 home runs, 30 RBIs, .760 slugging, and a 1.122 OPS. Just amazing. Real quick IL note here. I'll go into depth about the IL, but Kyle Schwarber I think it was in the second game of the Dodgers series, had a hamstring injury. Looks like he is going to be out, obviously, until after the All-Star game. We'll see how he comes, but a loss for the Nationals for sure. That power that comes off of there. So congratulations to Shohei and Kyle for their AL player and NL player of the month. Now, you don't see this happening very often. A pitcher with a walk-off. And that happened in Atlanta for Max Fried. This is something he's always wanted. He loves to hit. But in this game, the Braves, which had depleted their bench, they were playing the Marlins, they depleted their bench during a 4-run ninth inning rally. And who is sitting on the bench other than Max Fried? And he knew. He was like, well, it looks like I'm probably... And he's been a pinch hitter before. But Brian Snitker turned to him and said, all right, you get up there. And he provided one of the wildest victories of the season. He had a 2-out pinch hit single. The Braves won 8-7 in 10 innings and innings over the Marlins at Truist Park. Brian Snitker said it's kind of like we emptied the tank in the ninth inning trying to tie the thing. And it's nice to have a bullet like that on the bench. Like Max. And Fried went on to say that he loves hitting. He grew up playing the outfield and first base, and it's something that he always dreamed about happening. But once he figured out that he was going to be a pitcher, he thought, well, it's probably never going to happen because I'm a pitcher. I'm not going to hit that much. But it happened, and a highlight for Max Fried. So very cool walk-off win for the Braves and Max Fried in the walk-off hero role. All right, we're coming up to my favorite, the IL. Ouch! This week we're going to talk about some guys that you hear quite a bit about. Some of these guys are headed to the All-Star game. We're going to talk about Buster Posey of the Giants, a very deserving starter. Hopefully we'll be able to start. He, in the final game against the Diamondbacks, on Sunday, he had to leave the game in the 6th inning after he took a foul tip off his left hand. The x-rays were negative, and he was diagnosed with a left thumb contusion. So kind of up in the air if he will play. There's a lot of different things with catchers. There's like removable cast that they can put on their thumb, and just different things that they can do, because that's playing catcher that is probably, I think, the toughest position to play. I mean, it's the roughest on your body for sure. So hopefully Buster gets better. I know the Giants fans were not happy to see that. Now, for the Twins, you had Mitch Garver, who had groin surgery. Ouch! And he is expected to come back after the All-Star break. He's been ramping up. He is the catcher. He's been ramping up his baseball activities more so in the last week. So with the All-Star break, it'll be good for him and for the Twins to maybe get him back. And Nelson Cruz has been dealing with a really bad chest cold for weeks, according to Rocco Baldelli, and he hasn't been able to stop coughing. And Cruz wasn't playing for Minnesota. I think it was for the second straight game. He is going to a doctor to receive x-rays, but if he's been doing this for weeks, wouldn't you think that you would go before that? And it seems really concerning. So we'll see what's going on with Nelson Cruz. Again, an all-star as a reserve, but probably won't be in Colorado. And our favorite, Josh Donaldson, is out of the lineup with tight right hamstring. He needs time to sit on the bench, and I don't know, does he need time to sit on the bench so he can think about himself and how I guess he thinks he's so great and how much he knows? Does give him time to maybe watch the pitchers a little bit more. Maybe he's writing his book. He's, doing some edits for his book, but he's on the IL. Don't really care about that one, but just thought I'd throw it in. Sixto Sanchez will undergo season-ending arthroscopic surgery after an MRI revealed a small tear in the posterior capsule of his right shoulder. Ouch! Not good news for the Marlins. Mentioned Mike Trout already. He has been on the field. He is expected to be activated after the All-Star break. Justin Upton, who had been doing so great in that leadoff role, he had lower back tightness, but he has been hitting in the cages, so that's good news for the Angels. And then Anthony Rendon had left the game. I think on Sunday, he left the game with a left hamstring tightness, and Taylor Ward had a jammed right index finger. Ouch! Neither of them has been placed on the injured list, so hopefully they're just, maybe some minor injuries, things that this can get healed and get better, especially with the All-Star break coming up. And since I didn't mention the Angels during the Angels segment, and I didn't mention the Dodgers IL either, but there were some moves for the Dodgers. Scott Alexander, who had been out with a shoulder injury, was in Oklahoma City. He's expected to be activated sometime, I think, this week for the Dodgers, so that'll be really good for their bullpen. And Brusdar Graterol, who had started in the Saturday game, was optioned back or sent back to Oklahoma City. I think he still needs to work on his command, and I think that's probably why they sent him back. And then you have Lorenzo Cain of the Brewers. He had a right hamstring strain. He is going to start a rehab assignment with AAA Nashville this week. He will have an extended stay, according to Craig Counsell, in the minors after the All-Star break. So I guess they want to get him right. The Brewers have been on a tear. Really looking forward to the postseason at this point and really want to get Lorenzo Cain right before the big push. Carlos Carrasco has a torn right hamstring. Ouch! He began throwing bullpen sessions late last month, and he started doing some fielding. So the Mets might get Carlos Carrasco back, but he has been out. And then Zach Plesac with his right thumb fracture that he fractured when he was aggressively taking his shirt off. He threw a bullpen session Monday under the expectation that he will return to the roster for an abbreviated start, is what Terry Francona said. Maybe something, where he goes in and just pitches maybe, 3 or 4 innings, if that. So kind of like a bullpen game, I guess. Yermin Mercedes has been demoted to AAA Charlotte. Yermin came out of the gates swinging, was just awesome, and has since just tanked. And he was sent back down to AAA. We'll see, will he be back to the majors? Never been in the majors before. Really cool story with Yermin. Lots of people like him. Tony La Russa, probably not so much. Not sure how much of a, was he chomping at the bit to get Yermin Mercedes back to AAA? I don't know. Again, some conspiracy theorists there think so, but it will be interesting. I've heard the White Sox have some interest in Trevor Story. They have some interest in some other guys. It'll be interesting, especially for the trade deadline. Another news is Tim LaCastro, who played for the Dodgers and then was traded to the Diamondbacks, or I don't think he was traded or if he was released and then can't quite remember, but he played for the Dodgers, then he played for the Diamondbacks. He was traded to the Yankees. So we'll see how that goes for Tim. He's a good player, so, hopefully that'll be good for him. And that's it for Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Next week, Jeff will be back. I have to say, he has done this show twice without me. He's way better than I am. It was really hard just sitting here talking about baseball. It wasn't hard talking about baseball, but it was hard talking about baseball. Without him, we text every day about baseball, and it's, we love it. And so everything will go well with his move to his new house, and then he will be back and set up to do another episode of Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast next week.